I am Don Tess, better known as the Dawn of Beer.
And I'm Em Sauter, better known as Pints and Panels.
Welcome to episode 71 of the All About Beer podcast. Every 2 weeks, we talk with leading experts and take a deep dive into one topic in beer. And this week, we have a special episode recorded live during the 2025 Craft Brewers Conference at Sun King Brewery in Indianapolis, Indiana. In this episode, we've got 3 guests who are going to talk about how far IPA can go. Visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer. And if you want to support the show, please visit allaboutbeer.com/support to support this show and others. So, Em,
Yes.
have you heard about this rare beer style called IPA?
No. That's why I'm really excited about this episode because I don't know anything about IPA. I've never heard of it. It sounds really niche and unpopular. And so I'm really excited to talk to 3 brewers who apparently do it well. I mean, this
Yeah.
is
How did we
really,
find 3? I mean, it's such a rare
I
style.
I can't believe it.
But first, if you would like to help support the All About Beer podcast, please reach out to podcast@allaboutbeer.com. Speaking of supporting the show, here is a word from our sponsors.
Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more.
To you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, still family-owned, operated, and argued over.
New York's most exciting craft beverage destinations, head to Westchester County in the scenic Hudson Valley, where more than 23 breweries, distilleries, and cideries are pouring up local flavors in every glass. Get started with the Westchester County Craft Beverage Trail free digital passport that makes exploring easy, and no app download is required. Just check in at participating locations to earn points and prizes, all while enjoying a taste. Use the passport to tag your favorites and discover new hop spots like Broken Bow Brewery in Tuckahoe, Captain Lawrence Brewing Company in Elmsford, Hardscrabble Cider in North Salem, and River Outpost Brewing Company in Peekskill, and many more. Tradition, Mule Melon, Select. RAR BSG sources these German hop varieties and more directly from German growers through their cooperative organization, HVG. Founded in 1953, HVG has grown to be one of the most important hop suppliers worldwide. In addition to supplying a large part of the German hop crop to brewers worldwide, HVG also processes hops into pellets, extract, and other hop products. Where would beer be without HVG? For the best selection, contact RAR BSG.
Diana Locatelli was born and raised in Cedarburg, Wisconsin, and from there went out to Boulder to study environmental engineering at the University of Colorado. Having fallen in love with Colorado, one thing she could not ignore was the local beer scene. At some point after graduating, Diana got herself a homebrew kit along with some buddies, and that's where she really sunk her teeth in. From that point on, it became a major focus for her anywhere she went, and Diana just loved seeing what a new city had to offer in the beer world. She got inspired to see if it was something she could make a career of, and lo and behold, she landed herself a job as an assistant brewer at Oskar Blues, where she brewed for about 4.5 years. From there, Diana moved to Odell Brewing Company, where she spent almost 5 years. After that, Diana picked up everything she could from those experiences with experienced breweries and found an opportunity to move back to the homeland in Wisconsin, where she started at Hinterland Brewery, which turns 30 this coming May. She became the head brewer at the beginning of the year and has been continuing the learning journey. Diana loves hops and all things IPA. In her free time, Diana loves to camp, play soccer, watch football, and hang out with her 2 dogs. Alexandra Nowell has been in the brewing industry for over 15 years. She is the co-founder and brewer at Melatonin Beer Project in Cincinnati, Ohio, and technical brewing advisor for CLS Farms in the Yakima Valley. Alexandra's love for beer and inspiration for brewing is found in the roots of the recipe, where she strikes a balance between science, art, and intention. Over the course of her career, Alexandra has taken a special interest in the raw ingredient supply chain, with a focus on the critical relationships linking brewers, growers, brokers, all facets in between, and how that plays out to create the highest quality beer possible. Natalie Rose Baldwin is the brewmaster at lager-focused brewery Wayfinder Beer in Portland, Oregon. She worked as a research and development brewer at Breakside Brewery from 2017 to 2023 and has brewing since 2014. Natalie's brewing interests vary with a predominant focus on esoteric lagers, hop and malt innovation, and specialty beers using seasonal flowers, tea, spices, and fruit. Natalie is a professional judge at the Great American Beer Festival and the World Beer Cup, as well as other international competitions. She works with the Oregon Brewers Guild Diversity and Equity Committee, was a Pink Boots Portland chapter co-leader, and was the recipient of a Pink Boots Scholarship in 2018. Outside of work, Natalie enjoys traveling, backpacking, baking, and forever frolicking in fields of flowers with her dog, Beef. Okay, so we're going to talk about the limits of IPA. Very exciting subject because there's so many IPAs out there. My first question then is sort of a toss-up for the three of you, anybody who has thoughts on this. I want to start with, there's so many IPA variants. There's hazy, West Coast, double, white, black, red. So does the term IPA have meaning anymore? Is IPA simply any hoppy beer, or are there boundaries to what is IPA, and how do you define that?
Do it.
I mean, I've been known to be a little bit of a purist over the course of my career, but I mean, I think that we're constantly redefining what these categories mean. So, okay, putting like an adjective in front of it is fine. I think there still are some boundaries to what an IPA can be. You can't brew a stout and call it a black IPA, although some people might. I don't know. There's an expectation of bitterness. There's an expectation of hop character, aroma, overall sort of drinking experience in order to kind of call it an IPA. There has definitely been a bastardization of the style with people putting IPA on something for the sake of likes.
Make that money.
Marketing.
Right? Yeah, they do it for the gram or whatever. Or maybe it's TikTok these days. I don't know. But yeah, it's the marketing moniker that kind of bothers me sometimes where you drink it and you're like, okay, like I get what you were doing here, but you missed the mark on IPA. So, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily anything wrong with that. There's really no beer police out there telling us, brewers like, no, do not do that. It's usually consumers that end up telling us those things. But I mean, let us do what we want. Just make it good.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. And when we name beers, whether it's a traditional style or, using more information to explain what type of IPA someone's ordering, we're just trying to help someone order the beer that they want to order. And if you are misnaming the beer by calling it an IPA and not having bitterness, hop saturation, things like that, you're not really benefiting anyone, I think.
Right, yeah, I think my best take on it is we have taste is subjective. Sure. And so at the end of the day, I feel like you just have to have something that somebody is going to want to drink. And so I can appreciate kind of the spectrum that the category has become. I love bastardization is kind of perfect, where it's just like we've sort of we've been fudging what we are defining in that realm a little bit, and so I think there are pros and cons, kind of where it's just like, well, it needs to be marketable, but like you also want the kind of traditional beer drinker to love it as well, and so I think you're just trying to marry those two worlds a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you.
I
It's
love
a lot of fun.
I love the idea of the beer police.
The beer police is great.
Like I want to see uniforms. I want to see them in a little car and they like woo woo. I don't know.
It's an Untapped t-shirt is the uniform.
I love it.
It's kind of like the Wambulance, right?
Yeah. So my question's for Diana. So at Hinterland, you've brewed an IPA up to 10% ABV, which was a rye barrel-aged double IPA, and others near 9%. What are your goals when you're brewing high alcohol beers like that? And then are you brewing it just to see if you can? Or are there flavors absent in a regular IPA that you're like, I want more? Are you the more IPA person?
I feel like that's a fun game to play. I think there's sort of like envelopes to fit into, and so I think there is always a crowd to please, and so some people want the high ABVs, and sometimes it's just fun to push the boundaries and see if you can get everything in there that you want and make it, but still make it taste good. I think that's I don't know. It's fun to play around.
Is Green Bay like a high ABV town?
I would say it's probably a high ABV town. Wisconsin
seen their
folk
football?
like to drink a smidge is the word on the street. But it's also blending sort of the meeting that crowd, but also Wisconsin tends to have a different palate than I'm used to, maybe, where there is like a sweeter profile. So there is such thing as making a too bitter beer, and so you gotta play that balance game a little bit.
Cool.
So Natalie, you've pushed IPA in another direction. Wayfinder largely credited with inventing cold IPA, and in fact, the very first episode of the All About Beer podcast was about cold IPA. So everybody should listen to that. Thank you very much. So explain the why of cold IPA, and when you're inventing new IPA styles, what's the thought process there?
So I've been at Wayfinder for 2 years now, and the cold IPA happened before I was brewmaster there. And it's been really interesting to be able to kind of take the momentum of that style. And, there's been so many brewers all around the country that I know, likely around the world, making West Coast IPA with lager yeast for a long time. So seeing some recognition, getting out there and having other people be able to experiment, based off of a style with a little bit more definition was really cool. And when I took over Wayfinder, took what I liked about cold IPA and started implementing things that I learned about making West Coast IPA when I worked at Breakside, also a very famous IPA brewery. Yes. So, working with sulfur from hops and lager yeast and figuring out mouthfeel and alcohol and ester profile, I think is something that my focus is mostly lager beer, so taking things that you like, particularly with hop sulfur and yeast sulfur, to kind of like push intensity. And we've changed how much ester impacts the beer. I like it a little bit lower, so we ferment a little bit warmer with a little bit less of a temp raise, and kind of help it push some of the hop sulfur to balance that intensity.
So I've never heard of this. You're using sulfur as you're kind of embracing the sulfur.
Yeah, I mean, these are positive sulfurs. You're not like looking for like eggy, stinky things, but realizing that there is a part of sulfur that helps push intensity, and again, positive sulfur, not negative sulfur. And when you're choosing what sort of hops you want to use, hot side versus cold side, and like we have a really, really punchy lot of Mosaic in our contracted lots this year, and she's strong. Little onion garlic, or a lot of onion garlic, some fruit, and the intensity of it's really interesting. But if we notice in cold IPA in particular, with the 3470 sulfur, we needed to kind of blend a little bit of that lot and another lot in the dry hop so that we could push some fruit and some intensity. And again, I'm not an IPA specialist, but just messing around and playing with that aspect. And the lager yeast is an interesting way to do that. And we also switched from using corn to using rice, because I love rice lagers and rice, and we have a cereal cooker. So our adjunct base in our cold IPA is that.
Awesome. New territory.
Wow, yeah. So Alex, you work extensively with hops.
Okay. Yes, I do.
When you're working with brewers pushing the edge of IPA in different ways, how do you guide them?
Is this with my hop farm hat on? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So I think that with my role at CLS Farms, a lot of it comes down to field maturity and understanding aromatic picking windows of the different varieties that we grow. We grow about 25 varieties now, like 2,300 acres. It's a lot, but we do all field sensory when it comes to the readiness of our varieties. Not every hop has such a wide picking window, but some of them do. And so my conversation with brewers is typically take this one variety of hop and then imagine what it can be across the spectrum of flavor and aroma, and then putting the hop in front of them to understand what it can do in beers. And really the best thing is through brewing trials. And a lot of people don't realize that an Eldorado hop picked at the beginning of the window is vastly different than something picked at the end. That goes for things like Centennial, Chinook, CTZ. Not so much with the Citras and Mosaics of the world. Those are pretty intense all the way through. But really gaining an understanding of what a single variety can actually do for you that's different. And so we have brewery customers with very different tastes. We know some people like really early Centennial. Some people want it as far out as it can get, because it brings a different profile into their beer. So I guess it's like, is this, a spade isn't a spade isn't a spade in this sort of situation. And so it's really educational based. I mean, the best way is to bring people onto the farm and really truly illustrate that, but not everyone has the ability to come out to Yakima during, September, especially late September when most of these hops are really ready. But we do a lot of technical outreach based off specifically Centennial and Eldorado, because they're the hops that we're the most comfortable with and grow the most of. But yeah, I think I mentioned before, I've been known to be a little bit of a purist when it comes to my brewing style. So taking just that raw foundational ingredient and then understanding how you push the limit on that is what I've been the most into.
Do people come to you and they're like, I want to brew only double IPAs. What am I looking for? Or and then how would you steer them? We do a lot of direct sales. We sell most of our stuff to dealers, but that means that varieties that are owned by HBC, I still like to talk about using them. We like to do CLS first on a lot of stuff, but first you start with the conversation. What are you trying to make your beer smell like? Because a double IPA to one person is not a double IPA to another person. Some people, we have some California brewers that still really like old school dank hops. And so then you push them towards the end of most of the picking windows, and you want the latest pick possible. Some people are looking for more delicate fruit character, and then depending on the variety, you tend to move them towards the beginning of that picking window. It is definitely variety specific. One of my favorite varieties is Cashmere. It literally has a 36-hour window before that hop just goes over the cliff. So really?
Not a lot of aromatic variability in a well-picked Cashmere, right? It can be picked early, it can be picked late. I spend a lot of time on Cashmere Watch during this one part of the month.
Cashmere Watch.
Yeah, no, seriously. It gets really ugly really fast. It'll start to turn on us while we're picking that field. But it's understanding what it is actually supposed to smell like.
Natalie wants to know why you're not talking about sulfur in your hops when you're...
Because
mention
if I was to
sulfur
start
once.
talking about the sulfur characteristics of cashmere, it would not be the good one.
Diana, I've seen triple IPAs, I've seen quadruple IPAs, I've even seen a 15% quintuple IPA. Going back to the big IPA topic, do these types of IPAs intrigue you? Why or why not? And what's the limit there?
I think my take on it is just that it still has to be drinkable. I've been to breweries where they're pushing the limits on your ABV and where just you can tell that the goal was how high can we get it, and I get that that's fun. It's fun to push the limits on these things, but to me, at the end of the day, I still want to be able to drink it and enjoy it and not.
Or two of them?
Or two.
Yeah.
Two is a good number. So I think that for me as the beer drinker, there's a limit to where I really want that to be because I do want to have that second one. So I think you're just constantly playing the give and take and finding the right balance in between.
Are there any, open that up to everybody else, are there any IPAs that like intrigue you? Do you like brewing the high gravity stuff, or do you want more session? Like, what do you, I guess in terms of like, what does your customer base look for versus what you want to brew? I know those are two very different things.
I think maturing as a brewer is understanding that you have to find the balance between the two. Whereas like one day,
mic
like
drop.
I don't really care what they want. I brew what I want, but now it's like, okay, this is a business. But no, I mean, I think if you want to talk to me about my sweet spot, it's like a 6.5 to 6.8% medium bittered West Coast IPA that's highly aromatic with 0 crystal malt.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That's like my desert island IPA. And it's nothing about that pushes the limit of IPA as a style. It's like go to Northern California and that's what they give you.
Yeah, I mean, West Coast IPA is true to my heart. And yeah, same range, dry, aromatic, bitterness, but not too, hop saturation is so important because if you're going to be drinking an IPA that just tastes bitter and dry instead of having flavor and aroma and everything throughout, then what you doing? And I do think it's like when you're drinking these session beers, obviously like it's nice to drink a session beer, but there's so much mouthfeel, texture that comes with the alcohol in there, balancing out some of that bitterness and carrying some of that hop saturation throughout. So often, like drinking those lower alcohol beers, even though they might be hopped well, sometimes they don't carry everything as well because there's not just a little bit of glycerol and sweetness in there to kind of carry it all the way through.
Thank you. It looks like you want to add something, so.
Yeah, I think I'm just, these are all really good points and I couldn't agree more. I think I've seen both sides of the spectrum be done not well. And I think especially on a session, I love a session IPA. I'd love there to be more of them. But I have had plenty where it leaves a little bit to be desired, where it was just like, well, we get what you're doing. And then on the other side of the spectrum, I feel like I am asking myself, when I've had a beer that you can tell is just like, okay, guys, just because we can, does that mean we should? So you want to find yourself in the middle of that where you're not left wanting, but you also haven't just like slammed everything that you can into the can.
Great.
Don, what's your desert island IPA?
Ooh. Really, really big.
Oh, why?
No, because if I'm going to drink it for the rest of my life, I need like 5 hectoliters of it.
No,
Volume.
not
big.
what I asked. For me, it's a 6.5% New England IPA. I'm a New Englander, so I'm very proud of that kind of heritage. That we don't have a brewing heritage until now. Yay! And I think 6.5 is I think the best IPA. There's something about the alcohol and the bitterness. Oh, I mean sometimes bitterness, but the alcohol and the hops mingling together. That's just a really great ABV for any IPA. or 6.5 to 7. I think those are nice.
It's a good range.
Great range. Okay.
And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more. Ready to taste your way through one of New York's most exciting craft beverage destinations? Head to Westchester County in the scenic Hudson Valley, where more than 23 breweries, distilleries, and cideries are pouring up local flavors in every glass. Get started with the Westchester County Craft Beverage Trail free digital passport that makes exploring easy, and no app download is required. Just check in at participating locations to earn points and prizes, all while enjoying a taste. Use the passport to tag your favorites and discover new hop spots like Broken Bow Brewery in Tuckahoe, Captain Lawrence Brewing Company in Elmsford, Hardscrabble Cider in North Salem, and River Outpost Brewing Company in Peekskill, and many more.
This program is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, still family-owned, operated, and argued over.
Need ingredients and supplies that deliver consistent, high-quality beer? RAR BSG has you covered. From hops to malt to yeast to unbeatable customer service, they are dedicated to your success. RAR BSG, ingredients for greatness.
Alex, with your hop hat on, I'm guessing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm guessing that most brewers, when they come to you, they're focused on what they want. They think they know what they want. They're doing a hop rub and they're looking for certain things. But with you and your experience with, picking windows and all that sort of thing, what is something that you wish brewers understood better about hops?
Okay, okay. So first of all, I'm going to correct you on that. Brewers don't always know what they want when they come to the farm. I think a lot of people are so in awe by just being in Yakima during harvest that it's easy to forget everything you ever knew. And when you come on the farm, you really just want to absorb as much information as possible on the ground. So you'd be surprised. People don't come in there's no ego there. It's pretty incredible. That's why it's one of my favorite experiences. If you haven't been, you definitely need to go. Open invite to CLS in Yakima. But it's not even on the hop quality side because, I think hop quality is really, really important. It's going to be more on the business of hop side that I think I wish more brewers understood, and that's the importance of actually communicating contracts and things like that. To dealers, if that's how you're buying your hops, or even to farms if you're fortunate enough to have farm direct relationships, because the hop industry is in a really interesting place right now, and the only way to know how to properly forecast growth is through contracting of varieties. Even if you're small, it's helpful to know what your needs are. I've written contracts for 88 pounds of a certain variety. Sure, that's not like the volume player that's really guiding things, but like when one starts to do it, another starts to do it, and another starts to do it, and it's just become a really rare thing for small breweries to do these days. So it's understanding that the best way to communicate to a farm, to keep that farm in business, because hop farms are going out of business right now, is to just help us understand your supply chain a little bit deeper.
But other than that, the importance of refrigeration. Keep your hops cold.
Okay, I like that. Thank you.
Natalie and Diana, have you guys been to Hop Harvest?
Yeah, I went out a couple years ago on the Oregon side.
Nice.
So we stumbled into Wayfinder a time or two, and but yeah,
I think
met
you
some.
stumbled out of Wayfinder.
I
Stumbled
stumbled
in
out.
and
I
Mayhaps.
stumbled out of there. Yeah.
But so I visited with some of the indie hop farms while we were out there.
Was there anything that you learned that you surprised you, or did you go in thinking you wanted something and came out with something else, like Alex? Sometimes that happens.
I was the kid in the candy store, 100%. I felt
That's exactly what Alex
like I
said.
was, at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, just going through. We were riding in the truck bed. It was awesome, and we ended up boxing up the hops. I was brewing in Colorado, and we had some fresh picked hops. They beat us to the brewery and were already in a fermenter on the day that we left. So we picked them. Well, we didn't pick them, but
Selected them.
they were picked.
Yeah.
And then we boxed them up, sent them on a U-Haul. They went to the airport before we did, and then they already brewed it before we landed. It was awesome.
And Natalie, you're so close to Yakima, so I would assume you've gone.
Spoiled, rotten.
Yes.
Yes.
What's your experience like going? I'm sure you go every year.
We're really lucky to have really close relationships with both farmers and all of our hop suppliers. And, over the years, a couple different steps in this. I have had access to smelling, fresh hops through Indy, Crosby, and Coleman, a bunch of many other farms. So a lot of really cool access. And another point to kind of go off of what Alex said, when I first started brewing, I had a woman who was a sales rep host a little meeting and talk to people about contracts, so that there was a bunch of us that weren't involved in any contracting, but she wanted us to have a basic idea of what contracting was, how to talk to suppliers, sales reps, and things like that, so that you kind of just knew what was going on. Because especially when you're just learning how to, or just having a basic idea of what hops your company even has access to, what R&D looks like inside of your company, and things like that. We were talked to about this is a contract, this is how long people contract out, this is how you talk to your rep about it and stay in constant contact. And even after that, learned a lot from my specific reps about adjusting contracts and talking to them about your specific needs. And I think especially when I took over Wayfinder, it was really helpful for me to have access to farmers and talk to them about how the current crop was going, and then going to the fields before things were getting picked, and just kind of having an idea of what was going on. And then when you go into selection and you're picking your hops, you kind of have this big picture of what you might want for the year and what you might want going forward, and what hops are getting pulled out of the ground, and sometimes advocating for hops. And, my brewery isn't big enough to advocate for hops, but there are some U.S. varieties that I like a lot that I'm kind of supplementing in with some European lagers, because I need something with higher BUs. And yeah, there's just a lot of really cool things that you can do when, I think in general, anyone can, but it's a little bit easier for us because I can drive to a farm, and a lot of the suppliers are coming in through my brewery during selection, so you get to meet a lot of people and hear a lot about what's going on.
So, I guess I kind of knew this, but I'm hearing a lot of it right now, that hops are an agricultural product, which means it's subject to all of the. Do you think the consumer appreciates the agricultural aspect of hops? I think that they don't.
They don't.
And how can we change that? How can we get farmers to appreciate? They certainly appreciate a fresh peach when it's peach season. How do we get them to get hops?
It's a little bit different in the Pacific Northwest, just because people, everywhere you go, there's fresh hop beers. So I don't know that it's a full understanding, but there definitely is a little bit more awareness that there is a harvest for hops because of all of the fresh hop beers. And, it's our job to continue to translate that from our farms to our consumer. But like Alex mentioned, I don't think it's easy to show people exactly what that is.
It's not. I mean, it's the idea of what a hop is, how it grows, when it's picked, where it's even grown. Like, most consumers don't understand that. They know the word hop. They know that it's in their beer. I don't think they understand what that actually, the mass consumer, right? Not the craft consumer.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to understand that we're really looking at an industry with tunnel vision when it comes to like the true like craft connoisseur. But the overall consumer understands what the word hop is, but I guarantee you they don't know what it does for the beer. It's hard. It's hard. I feel like there's so many like things we have to leap over already when selling and like marketing and selling beer that the link to the farm isn't it. Although Anheuser-Busch has done a pretty good job of kind of putting farmers at the forefront of some of their advertising campaigns, but it's not the norm.
Right. I feel like part of the tricky part of it is we on this side of the table know the sensitivities and like just how special each of these different strains are, and where your like mass consumer is falling short a little bit is realizing why why did you use this variety, what flavor profile, what aromatics are you trying to get from it, and it's hard to teach that with it. Like, you kind of have to show. It's not like you can't just tell somebody about it. Like, you have to prove it with the liquid. And so I think that's where a lot of it is, where I think, like we've seen Citra have its day, and where some of the, especially when you're talking in like the experimental realm of different hop strains, where you can't really tell somebody this thing that they never heard of is awesome. You have to show them that it's awesome. And I think that's where it becomes trickier, because you have to have the buy-in first.
I was just in Japan, and there was a really interesting way that Sapporo, which is a very large lager producer in Japan, and globally really, the way that they talked about a hoppy beer, it was a single hop Citra lager. They called it Beer Surprise. And they talked about the hop being a surprising flavor. And the surprising flavor was Citra. But then that was it. It was like, here's your surprise, it's delicious, that's it. But there was really nothing really behind that any further. But I found that really fascinating, considering a lot of Japanese beers are just very clean, European in style, right?
Isn't it Sapporo that develops Sriracha Ace?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. Candace.
I am eating the mic.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So, but anyway, that hop doesn't really gain a lot of favor anymore. I don't even know if anyone's still growing it.
Yeah. Diane, a bit of a technical nerdy question for you, because I am a technical nerd. When you are brewing your bigger IPAs, how do you think about that from an ingredient standpoint? And I'm thinking specifically, like, obviously your malt efficiency, your mash efficiency is going to fall off. Your hop efficiency is going to fall off. So you can't just double everything. How do you develop those beers?
I think you just have to get really good at using the tools that you have in your toolbox a little bit. We have a system where we can do step mashing and really kind of take our grain all the way through all the profiles to optimize everything that we can, and then I think there's a little bit where it's just like you can control the things you can, and you got to accept a few of the things that you can't, and just there's a benefit to being on a little bit of a smaller scale, where a whoopsie can either become a new brand or a learning opportunity, and that's where you're at.
Awesome.
So this will be the final question. So while IPAs reign supreme for decades and craft Obviously, there are more and more lagers. Natalie knows a thing or two about lagers. Have the heydays of IPA passed us? And what, yes or no, and why? And then what do you see as the future of IPA if you want there to be a future?
Oh.
The heyday is not over.
No.
I don't think that there's any end in sight, which is great. I love that. It's my favorite style. I grew up, I say grow up as a brewer. I grew up in California as a brewer in California brewing. I don't know, 85% of the beers I made were IPA. Not so much anymore, but still. And in terms of the future, I see a little bit of a reverse back from really hazy heavy towards lighter hazy beers, and then West Coast IPA. And then the West Coast Pilsner style, I think, is a really nice way to kind of foray into lagers and this like massive lager resurgence that we have been talking about happening for years, but hasn't quite come back yet. Maybe it finally will on like a grand scheme of thing. I don't know. But I really think that just kind of reversing back from these really, really heavy New England IPAs that still exist on a niche, but when it comes to like the mass market of things, easier to drink, more palatable, maybe lower ABV to some degree. You see younger drinkers not drinking as much beer. Maybe a little more fruit in some of them, for better or for worse. But I really want to see the West Coast Pilsner style kind of explode.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, IPA is definitely not dead. I mean, I know that IPA is just continuing to get better and better. There's more research in hops. There is more educated brewers. There is more alternative hop products so that you can increase yield, increase intensity, change flavors, use bitter. Like there's just so many options of things. And I think that's just going to continue to get more and more dialed. There's going to be more information, and people are making better beer constantly. So, we are a lager-focused brewery. We make a shitload of IPA and a shitload of lager, and our West Coast IPA will always be our biggest seller, because across the board, you can have a couple lagers, you can have a couple IPAs, whatever. Like people want to drink really delicious things, and IPAs are delicious.
Yeah, agreed. I don't see it going anywhere, especially because the more it seems like there's more and more research going into dialing in very specific kind of profiles, either whether they're aromatic, bittering, or flavor profiles, where we're getting to kind of pick our own toys at this point. And so I think that that's going to continue to happen as long as there are people who are ready and willing to commit to continuing that research, which doesn't seem like that part's going to be slowing down anytime soon. And so I think I couldn't agree more. Like people are cranking out better and better beer all the time, and the better and kind of more diverse your tool set is, the more you get to play.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for the conversation. Before we let you go, can you each share your social media handles so everybody can hear all the cool hoppy things that you're doing?
Yeah, so my brewery is Mellowtone Beer Project, and you can find us on all the socials. We're on at Mellowtone Beer, and then CLS Farms in Moxie is also just CLS Farms.
Same here. We've got hinterlandbeer.com, Hinterland on all of the socials. I think that's where.
Yeah, we're pretty straightforward too. Wayfinder Beer on most of the socials. We're not really like all the way hip with the kids, but they're around. No, I'm not doing TikToks. I'm so sorry. Yeah. With the Instagram, the internet, we're around.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Thanks
Cheers.
for talking IPA. This was
Yes,
great.
thank you.
Cheers.
So,
Yes.
now that you've heard all about these IPAs, are you excited to try one finally?
Yes, I can't wait. It sounds awesome. Anyway, all kidding aside, I think my favorite part of that was the discussion of like hop harvest.
Yes,
And, like-
and the differences in like picking window and all of that.
Yeah, it's what, and then like Natalie being so close, only 2.5 or 3 hours from Yakima or the Willamette Valley, like how freshness plays into, brewing and whatnot. And then like Diana's brewing with like high alcohol stuff also was really cool. Like, how do you build build a recipe, build an IPA for it to be successful? And then like there's so many different things you can do to make it's wild. It
I,
makes me
I,
excited.
yeah, and I mean, we were joking about IPA being rare, but
Yeah.
the truth, of course, is it is ubiquitous. And notwithstanding it being ubiquitous, there's still uncharted territory
Mm-hmm.
in
Exactly.
IPA. There's so many things that we can still do. Seasonality. We haven't explored seasonality. There's still new IPA styles that we don't even know about
Know
yet.
about,
Yeah,
yeah,
isn't that
or
great?
technology, all the things. We were at CBC, that's where we
Recorded this,
recorded
yeah.
this. Yes, thank you, words. And going to see what like dosing or hop extracts or cryo or like hop sprays that you can like totally change the way that beer is brewed. It's a crazy technologically advanced style that just has like it can only go up. I mean,
I
I mean, I
love
mean,
this.
I think I don't. I mean, it ain't going anywhere, and and there's so many. It's fun. Beer's
Yeah.
fun.
I agree, and IPA especially. So, please, everybody, visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer. And if you want to support this show, please visit allaboutbeer.com/support to support this show and others. If you have questions for the experts, please email podcast@allaboutbeer.com. That's also the email for feedback, suggestions, or to inquire about supporting this show through advertising. Em, how can people reach out to you?
I am at Pints and Panels on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and my website is www.pintsandpanels.com. What about you, Don?
I am at the Dawn of Beer on X Threads and Instagram, and people can drop me an email at dawn@thedawnofbeer.com. There's a reason podcasts always ask for listeners to subscribe and like the show. With more reviews and subscriptions, the algorithms will show our podcast higher in the list when people search for beer podcasts. It costs you nothing to do, just a few seconds of your time, and it would really help us out. So please rate and subscribe to our podcast. Please help us spread the word of good beer. And here is a final word from our sponsor.
Since 2009, Brewery Branding has been crafting merch that helps breweries thrive. They're born and raised in Portland, Oregon, giving them front row seats to the craft beer revolution and inspiring them to serve as your industry ally for everything branded. Apparel, headwear, drinkware, and all of the wouldn't it be cool if ideas you can dream up. Brewery Branding has been there, done that, and made the t-shirts to prove it. Brewery Branding didn't rise to the top just by being just another supplier. They're your merch mercenaries, ready to get in the trenches with you. Their expert design team, online stores, warehousing, and fulfillment services are here to make your life easier and your custom goods more profitable than painful. Whether you're refreshing your retail space, gearing up for festival season, or launching a new product in retail, Brewery Branding delivers custom goods that are on trend, on brand, and ready to succeed. From the smallest batch to the biggest order, nothing gets them more excited than raising a glass to your success. Visit brewerybranding.com to learn more. Ariana, Callista, Tradition, Yule Melon, Select. Rahr BSG sources these German hop varieties and more directly from German growers through their cooperative organization, HVG. Founded in 1953, HVG has grown to be one of the most important hop suppliers worldwide. In addition to supplying a large part of the German hop crop to brewers worldwide, HVG also processes hops into pellets, extract, and other hop products. Where would beer be without HVG? For the best selection, contact Rahr BSG. Ready to taste your way through one of New York's most exciting craft beverage destinations? Head to Westchester County in the scenic Hudson Valley, where more than 23 breweries, distilleries, and cideries are pouring up local flavors in every glass. Get started with the Westchester County Craft Beverage Trail free digital passport that makes exploring easy, and no app download is required. Just check in at participating locations to earn points and prizes, all while enjoying a taste. Use the passport to tag your favorites and discover new hop spots like Broken Bow Brewery in Tuckahoe, Captain Lawrence Brewing Company in Elmsford, Hardscrabble Cider in North Salem, and River Outpost Brewing Company in Peekskill, and many more.
This program is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, still family owned, operated, and argued over.
This show is produced by All About Beer. Visit allaboutbeer.com for articles, notes on this show and others, and to connect via the newsletter and social media. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Hey, Em, did you know that IPA was invented for shipping long distances?
Oh, Jesus Christ. There's an episode about that.